Greetings, Flosstube. I'm back. I know I've been gone a while, and I have a little bit of progress and some fabric haul to share with you, as well as a few other random non-stitchy related things that I'll save to the end. Um, it is Saturday, October 29th, 2016, 5:06 p.m. I just got in from the game, obviously. I used to swear I'd never paint my face, but I either lied or changed my mind. We'll go with I changed my mind because in 2014 I started doing this. It was our last home game today. We beat Wagner 34-10, which we had to because they were a 1AA school, but we won. We did well. Um, and it was senior day, so we sent the seniors off on a better footing. We still have three more games. At Troy next week, then a week off, and then we head the Thursday before Thanksgiving to Provo, Utah for the BYU game, and then we head from there to Hawaii. So more on that in a moment. Right now, I am going to change my clothes because I'm a little bit warm in this sweatshirt and t-shirt that I got on here, and I'm going to go wash my face. It takes a little bit of doing to get all this red and stuff off, but it does look cool. I have to admit the face painters at our stadium do a great job. And there's even glitter. I need to get the glitter off too before that goes in my eye. But I will pause this for a moment and I will be right back. And then I will have a few things to share. Okay, I'm back. I look a little bit more human now. Although, believe it or not, I did go to the grocery store looking like I just did. And I don't know if people didn't even pay attention or if they were just too nice to stare, but I just walked around. I mean, I'm sure that's not the strangest thing they've ever seen in October in Amherst. So, yeah. But anyway, I just got back and I thought I would do a video before Bill gets home. He should be home in a couple of hours, I guess. He had to get the video cut and put up in the cloud and put on the server so that the guys can watch it. I don't think Coach Whipple's going to be watching it because he went to the hangar, and when he goes to the hangar, he drinks, and when he drinks, he doesn't tend to watch a game tape. But he went with his son and his wife and his future daughter-in-law, and so Bill. Bill had to work, and I wasn't going to go without Bill, so I was just like, let me just run to the store because Bill wanted me to fix steaks for dinner, and I was like, sure, yeah, that sounds good. I haven't done that in a while. So steaks and baked potato and some ice cream later for dinner. But yeah, I went to the grocery store looking like that. Real classy. Well, actually, I went to Panera looking like that this morning because the game was at noon. So the Minuteman walk through where the team comes down the main stretch of campus and comes into the locker room was at 9:45. So I got there at 9:15 and I went and got my face painted and then I was there for that. And then I hadn't had breakfast, so I went to Panera looking like that. And yet again, nobody said anything. Either they were too nice or it's just not the weirdest thing they've ever seen. Well, actually, the weirdest thing I saw today was a kid. I guess there were kids going to the game in Halloween costumes. And there was a young man dressed up like a banana, but instead of having it on the correct way, he had the banana costume on upside down, so it looked like he had massive attributes that I'm sure he was compensating for. That's kids in Amherst. So, where have I been? Well, after the last video that I filmed right before Hurricane Matthew hit, when I was trying to figure out what was going on at the Old Dominion game, they went on Friday, like I mentioned in the previous video, and I was getting sick. Bill had a cold. It took him about a week to get over it. He was starting to feel better by the time they went to Old Dominion. But and actually, I don't think I got what he had because I had been feeling for a couple weeks before that like I was coming down with something, and I just never quite got to that point. Well, for me, a cold is never a cold. It's always a sinus infection. And I can probably count on one hand the number of times I've been sick with something during my marriage that wasn't a sinus infection. I think I can say like 2 stomach flus, 2 respiratory flus, and maybe a bronchitis, maybe like a sinus infection that went into a bronchitis or something. But for the most part, like every time I'm sick, it's my sinuses. So it ended up being a good thing I couldn't go to that game, or I chose not to because I was too ill that weekend. The game was that Friday night, and I was starting to not feel too great. And because it was at 8, the game was over like after midnight. So I was pretty jacked up and I couldn't sleep for a while. And that was when the BBC America station was doing their Star Trek tribute. So I stayed up till like 1 in the morning watching Star Trek. And then I finally had fallen asleep. My cold meds had finally kicked in. And all of a sudden, our fire alarm went off. It was like 2:30 in the morning, 2:45, something like that. And I had enough presence in mind. I grabbed my shoes and grabbed a sweatshirt because at this point it was still pretty warm, and I was sleeping in a pair of gym shorts and a t-shirt. Well, apparently somebody, because see, that about a year or so ago, they had to rewire all the fire alarms because they had to connect everything. Because it used to just be that in our apartment there's 6 apartments per section of the unit, and it used to be that just the 6 apartments were wired together. But then they had to wire the entire building together to bring it up to code. So basically, what happened, somebody on the far end of the building had fallen asleep with the pot on the stove and burned up whatever they were cooking and set off the alarm. And that triggered all the alarms down the building. And that's not the first time that's happened. It actually happened something similar back in August. I guess it was during football camp because it was a Saturday. Billy gotten up to go to work, and he had gotten up to go to work, and I was here. I was making needle minders and stitching and stuff. And then all of a sudden the alarm went off, and that was because somebody had gone off and left the apartment with the stove on and a pot on the stove. And they actually had to break into that girl's apartment to vent it to get the smoke out. So yeah, being there at 2:30 in the morning, standing outside. And I got one of the police officers laughing because, see, the thing is Sunderland's such a small town. We only have a volunteer fire department, and we only have like 3 police officers. So the more occurrences you have of these kind of things, the more likely it is that the same cop comes out for every one. And I believe the cop who came out was the one who was here in August. And I was like, that's it. Nobody on that end of the building can ever cook. They just have to do takeout. We're not letting them anywhere near their stoves anymore. But I was getting pretty sick. And then Saturday, they got back at like 5 a.m., 6 a.m. or something. And he went and got his work done. And he was home by like 7:30. And then, of course, they had that day off because of all the scheduling swaps due to the hurricane. So he was home most of the day. And I had a fever. I was pretty ill. At that point, I had completely lost my voice. Which is part of the reason it took me so long to get back to doing a video, because it took me a while to get my voice back and to be able to talk without coughing. So Columbus Day, I laid off work. We used to get that day off, but this year they changed it so that we had an additional personal holiday day, but we lost Columbus Day. Columbus Day didn't bother me. But I stayed home from work. Now, I have only stayed home from work one other time in the 7 years I've had this job, and that was because I got swine flu 3 weeks after I took the job, and I had to stay home. Doctor wouldn't even talk to me without a mask on at that point. So, yeah, that was bad, but I'm digressing all over the place. I apologize. So, I was pretty sick, and they looked at me and said, well, you've just got a virus. Because I went to the urgent care center because I knew if I tried to call my doctor, it would be 2 or 3 days before I could get an appointment. And I felt like I needed to go to try to nip it in the bud. So, yeah, it was pretty bad. It's like, okay, whatever. Virus, my ass. I know it's a sinus infection, but whatever you say, you're not going to write me a prescription for anything. So I said, well, I'll see you next week then. So the week came and went, and I was getting progressively worse. Had a horrible cough. And then by the Friday before the Louisiana Tech game, which was our last Gillette home game, supposedly until 2018, although I have heard rumors we do have to have one game at Gillette next year, but one game I could handle. But so that Friday I took off, and I had not been sleeping in the bed with Bill since he got sick, because he was coughing and was had a miserable cold, and he was like, well, I should go sleep on the couch. And I'm like, no, honey, I'll go sleep on the couch. You need the bed because you're sick. And he was like, but you always go out on the couch when you're sick. And I'm like, yeah, but that's because I can't sleep lying down when I'm really sick. So that's why I take the couch. So I hadn't, at this point, I hadn't slept in a bed for like a week and a half, closer to 2 weeks. And so we got to Gillette, we got to the hotel in Norwood. I managed to make it through the night fairly decently. I was afraid I was going to keep Bill up, but you know how hotels always give you like 50 pillows. Well, I like had them all stacked up and I was kind of sleeping sitting up. So, and that Saturday of the Louisiana Tech game, I woke up and my eyes were like literally sticking shut. I was like, oh crap, please don't tell me I have pink eye on top of everything else. And when I got up, I had all this green crud under my eyes. My eyes were all crappy. But when I looked in the mirror, my eyes were not bloodshot at all. And I was like, that is really strange because your eyes get blood red if you have pink eye. Hence the name. So I was like, well, I don't know what this is, but I'm bathing in hand sanitizer because I don't want to, all I could think of was, great, I'm here. How many people am I going to infect with this? So the 16th was that following Sunday, and I had to go to church because our handbell group was performing, and I couldn't not be there for that. But after that, I left and went back to the urgent care center. And I was so snarky with the CNA. I should have done better than that. I should have been nicer than that, but I wasn't. Because you know how they always, oh, and what brings you here today? And I said, the same crap that brought me here last week, only you swore it was a cold when I was here before. At this point, I had severe pain in my rib cage from coughing so hard. And my eyes were all screwed up because it was actually pretty scary because like Sunday morning when I woke up, I could just feel all this liquid junk in my eyes. And when I went to the bathroom to wipe them out, clean them out, for a second there when I opened my eyes, I couldn't see. And it's like, holy crap, for a second there, I knew what it was like for someone who was blind, it was really freaky. So it turns out it wasn't anything wrong with my eyes per se, but I had such a bad sinus infection that the infection was coming out of my tear ducts. Because it wasn't going to come out my nose. I was so clogged up and couldn't breathe worth diddly dinkus. So it was finding a way out of my body, and the way out was through my tear ducts. That has never happened to me before. That was extremely revolting, and I think it's proof to the doctors of how sick I was. But I saw the nurse practitioner at the urgent care center, and she gave me a Z-Pack, and I'm fine now. It just was like 2.5, close to 3 weeks of just feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. And I knew how bad it was when I didn't even feel like stitching. I didn't even look at my cross stitch. Because sometimes when I'm sick, I still think I can stitch. And then it's like, this little voice goes in my head saying, don't you dare, because you're going to have to you're going to have like a plague of frogs if you try to stitch while you're sick. Because I know better than to stitch when I'm tired or when I'm sick or when my neck's bothering me. So, but for this, I didn't even feel like looking at it. It was like, I can't even. All I could do, I didn't have any appetite. And all I could do, I was trying to stay hydrated because I was taking a lot of Sudafed. So I was just like drinking the lemon flavored water. I was drinking honey lemon ginger tea. I was drinking so much, I told my husband, I feel like all I've done for the past week is sleep and pee, and it's pissing me off. I want to get well. So I finally did, and I'm back to my old self. Finally got rid of the cough, so I thought, hey, I can actually talk now. I'm not going to, hack up along on a Flosstube video, so I'll do one tonight. So how's that for a segue? Sorry for that ramble there. I just thought I should tell you why I haven't been around, because I've been doing good about making videos every week or so. So in the making up for lost time category, I didn't really feel for a while like stitching, but I have gotten a little bit of progress done. I've done some more beading on the Mill Hill drum kit. I got all the little petite green beads put up in there, and I still have other beads to put in there, some blue and then another set of green. And I've started doing the gold beading around the drum. So it's a little bit of progress. I know some people find beading tedious, but I don't. For some reason, I think it's because it's sparkly and it's pretty and it's a little touch of bling to go on something. The one thing that I have changed in doing is, because you know you're supposed to use the one strand of the DMC thread. Well, I am using the DMC beading needle, and it was very hard to get the DMC thread through the beading needle. So I bought a pack of Nymo, Beadalon Nymo beading thread, and a little 4-pack of these spools. And looking at it, you would think it was the most flimsy stuff, but it's very easy to use in the beading needle, and it's pretty strong too. So I've started using the specific beading thread and the beading needles, and it's going fine. So I think I'm going to, do that from now on when I bead a project, whether it's a Mill Hill kit or some other beaded thing. I did make actually more progress on Nutty Parade than I thought I was going to, because I didn't want to touch this one while I was sick, because I've had enough issues with this one. This one has just been driving me completely bat crap crazy, and in a good way, because it's turning out cute, and I've been enjoying it. I don't want it to sound like I haven't enjoyed it, especially if my nephew sees this, since it's a piece for him. But it's just, sometimes pieces can be a little fiddly or something that just, you don't enjoy the process as much as you do the final project. But here's what I've done. I've gotten more of the last little nutcracker here on the end. Gotten his, where is he? See, you would think by now with all the videos I've made, I'd remember in the webcam, it's the opposite viewpoint. Eventually I'll figure that out. This little dude, I loved stitching those checkered pants though. I mean, only a nutcracker could pull off checkered pants. Either a nutcracker or Arnold Palmer, I don't know. But, so I got pretty much most of that body put in. I haven't gotten back to this week because I got distracted, as I will show you in a moment. But I'm getting there. I mean, even if I don't have this done by Christmas, which with the Hawaii trip and all, I'm having a feeling I'm not going to. But my nephew's birthday is in March, so I could just get it finished for him, send it to him as his birthday present, or I could just, whenever I finish it, take it to the framer and send it to him, and, whatever time I get it done. So I actually did make more progress on Nutty Parade than I thought. But, and the little drum ornament. So, I did, well, I hadn't intended on doing this. But Monday I found out on the 24th that all the plans are finalized for Hawaii. Bill texted me at work, call me on your cell. Call me on my cell, I've got awesome news. And the whole thing was finalized. So not only am I going to Hawaii, but I'm also going to the BYU trip, going on the BYU trip the week before. So to commemorate the trip, I had planned to do the Leilani Mirabilia hula dancer pattern. And so Monday, I was so excited to find out about the final plans that I started her. Yeah. When I still have Nutty Parade, I've got to finish, but so let me see which end is up on this. I haven't done a whole lot, just a little bit of her skirt, which is not going to show up in this crappy lighting probably very well. I've done a little bit of her skirt, and that little brown bit there is a little bit of the flesh tone for her stomach, but I haven't done a whole lot. And this will be a piece of firsts, because it is my first use of Lugana fabric, and I really like it. I like how it feels like it has, what would you say, like more structure to it, like it's not flimsy. It's a very nice stiff fabric. And then it's my first Mirabilia. Like I've said before, I have Lady in the Flag in my stash because I bought her after 9/11, which I'm glad I did because she's long been discontinued. But I just knew back then, 15 years ago, I was not ready to take that on. I had not been stitching long enough to feel comfortable taking that one on. So, oh, and it's also a first because normally when I stitch, I count up and start from the top left-hand corner down. However, she's such a long pattern. I didn't feel like I trusted myself to count from the center up on 32 count Lugana. So I just started in the center. So I'm starting from the middle and I'm going to work my way up and do the upper body first. So that was another first, because normally 99 times out of 100, if I can count it and get to the upper left-hand corner, that's the way I do my pieces. But, you know, hey, first time for everything, right? So my first Mira, my first Lugana fabric, and my first start from the middle. So that's kind of cool. And she's going to go with me on the trip, because she doesn't really have all that much in the way of a lot of threads. So I'll just leave the bead packs here and take her with me. I'm really liking the Karen water lilies, although I could swear to you that I have used them before. It seems so familiar to me, but I can't for the life of me think what it was that I would have stitched that I would have used them, since they're variegated. I mean, trying to think back over the major projects I've done in the past couple of years, and I just can't for the life of me think of what I could have done that would have used that thread, but I swear it seems familiar. It's so weird. It's almost like a deja vu thing, and I'm like, yeah, but when did I use that? I don't remember when I would have used that. So, a little bit of stash. Back in, I guess about a month ago, I ordered a piece of 28 count cashel mellow from Picture This Plus. It's a very nice pale yellow, pastel yellow. I'm going to use this for the rooster. Now the rooster kit, you know, when I showed you, it's got a lot of really beautiful teals and reds, and it came with a piece of white Aida fabric, which is fine. I don't have anything against Aida. I've used it, well, hell, I used it for like the first 23 years of my stitching life exclusively until I found linen. So, but I still stitch on it. And it's not that I'm, you know, a linen snob or anything, how you would ever say that. But I thought that as elegant as that rooster was, that it needed a more elegant piece of fabric. And I think this this mellow will go perfectly with the colors in the piece, all the teals and the reds. So I bought that specifically for that one. And I do have, hopefully, if I get my Picture This Plus invoice, I do have 10 pieces of fabric coming from them, 5 fat eighths and 5 fat quarters. So hopefully I can show that in one of my next videos. But I did get some fabric haul from other places. Mid-September, I put in my first hand-dyed Fabrics by Stephanie order. And of course, you know, her website says could take up to 4 weeks. No problem, you know. I mean, as long as the fabric place is upfront about it, I don't care. I mean, you know, that's why we stash fabric, right? So that we can buy it when we don't need it, so that we have it when we do. And I am absolutely blown away at how beautiful this fabric is. I mean, if I could order like one of each of her fabrics, I would. I do have a few things in mind for these, but oh, just beautiful stuff. First of all, now, I don't really use a lot of opalescence because, I mean, I used, Nutty Parade is on opalescent Ariel linen from Picture This Plus, the sparklies. And the piece I did for my niece was Chablis Sparkly from Picture This Plus. And you know, and I think that there are times when you're stitching something where it needs a little bling, or, you know, like if you're doing something that's wintertime. That's why I chose the opalescent Ariel for Nutty Parade, because it's the pale blue with the sparkle, looks like snow. But I don't really know exactly what I'm going to use this piece for, but it was so pretty. It's 28 count opalescent, and it's the Samantha colorway. Let me try to turn on a light here and see if, like, man, why am I showing fabrics if nobody's going to be able to see them? Yeah, that should work. Maybe a little bit. No. Well, now I feel just like I'm disappointing my Flosstube viewers, because I feel like I'm showing you, well, let me see. This one, yeah, that one will show up better. This one may not show up very well because it's a very, very pale lavender opalescent, and it's called Samantha. And I got the 13 by 18 of that. And, you know, I'm not entirely sure what I'll use this one for, but it's purple and it's sparkly, so I'm sure, even if it's just a little one-off something for myself, I'm sure I can find something to use on that one. And then I bought a 13 by 18 of 32 count. Oh, and yeah, what was I gonna say? And this one is very similar. It's a similar piece to the one that I'm stitching Leilani on, because it's like a mint green with purple. But whereas in the Leilani fabric, the green is the more prominent color, in this one it's the purple. So this one's real pretty. Really like this one. And I'm definitely going to order from Stephanie again. Love her fabric. She sent it very nicely packaged. And then this one is a 13 by 18 of 28 count, and it's called Forest Bloom. And it's yet another greenish purplish, but this one has some pink in it. But it's not like the kind of pink that I don't like. It's kind of like mauve, and it's mauve and green, different shades of green. So I'm seeing a trend here, green and purple. But, you know, those are my favorite colors, so I guess those are the ones I gravitate towards in my fabrics. And even in patterns that I choose to stitch, if it's got, but I really like jewel tones. So like I like amethyst purple, emerald green. I'm not much of a ruby red because that's too pink. I like garnets, which are that nice brownish. And I've actually become a fan of what people in the fountain pen community call blurple. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but in regards to ink, that's what people in the fountain pen community call like a really rich, like purplish blue. And it's the blue that trends, it's the purple that trends more towards the blue side of purple as opposed to the red, like the wine colors or the mauves and things. And people do call it blurple. And I would love to be able to find a real pretty fabric in that. But you know what? With my ink dye, with my fabric ink dyeing, I could dye a piece of fabric blurple myself. And I may have to try it. Because I do have two different inks that are kind of that real rich purpley blue that I could do that with. And then I was wanting to experiment with different kinds of linen too, because I've really only used Cashel and Belfast. So what I did was I found online, it's the Stitch and Frame shop on Celanese Road. And wait a minute. No way. That's got to be the same company that my mother worked for. She worked for Celanese, but in North Carolina. But I'm sure it's the same thing. Mom, if you're listening, can you leave me a comment and let me know? Was it Celanese? That's the company that you worked for back in the day, right? Okay, well, Celanese Road in Rock Hill, South Carolina. So I got a piece of I got a Lakeside Linens Vintage hand dyed in Aqua Mist, and it's just, this is a little piece, but it's a very pretty pale blue. It's very much along the lines of the similar color to, well, actually no, it's much lighter than the fabric I'm using for Nutty Parade, but it's a Lakeside Linens Vintage dyed piece, and it is so soft. I can't get over that. I don't think I've ever used a piece of linen that's this soft, but that's really pretty. And, you know, I mean, I think, you know, I know that in the world of cross stitch, the neutral fabrics are all the browns, the toffee colors, the taupes, that kind of thing. But I really do think that pale blue can be a neutral color. Depending on what you're stitching, it can be kind of like just a neutral kind of pale understated color. At least that's what I think. I mean, I like to use a lot of pale blue. And I even use, you know, the pale blue Ada that they sell at like Joann's and stuff. And Michael's and things. And then I get a piece. This is really, really pretty. This is, how do you pronounce it? Wichelt or Weichelt or what? I don't know. But y'all know what I'm talking about. And it is called Sea Lily. And it's a really, yet again, green fabric. But I think green is nice if you're doing something natural, you know, like I want to stitch more birds because I'm so into birds now. want to stitch more birds, and I think that this piece will be pretty. And then I just got a piece of Belfast in pearl gray because I have a Star Wars Force Awakens piece that I'm going to stitch for the twin sons of a friend of mine next year. It's the Clouds Factory Force Awakens one, and I think, you know, like with the colors in that, it would be nice on a gray. So that was my stash order, and it's the Stitch and Frame shop, and I ordered online, and they sent those. That's crazy though. It's got to be the same Celanese. I'm gonna have to Google that. That's gonna drive me crazy afterwards. It's got to be the same Celanese related thing that my mom worked for back in the day, before she got married and before I came out the chute, because she was a stay-at-home mother for me and my sister, which was, I'm sure, 10 times harder job than what she did as a secretary for Celanese. But anyway. Stay-at-home moms have the hardest job of anyone in the world, because at least if you're a working mom, you have time away from the children for a little bit each day. And while that's probably hard, you get your brain break. Now, this is a piece that I have to say was a total impulse buy, but I saw somebody had stitched it on Stitch Mania, on the Facebook page Stitch Mania, and I fell in love with it, and I will explain to you why in a moment. But it is the Black Sheep Wool Company. It's the Sophie Sheep Plum Street Samplers. And I ordered it on 123 Stitch, and I just had it kitted with all the, it's the, is it the Gast thread? See, now I can't remember which thread is in it, but I ordered the silk thread to go with it. Is it Gast? Please tell me I'm not losing my mind, and that it is actual Gentle Arts sampler threads, or Gast. Yeah, it's Gast. It's the Gentle Art sampler threads. So the reason I wanted this kit is it's a pretty specific reason. Our minister's husband runs the Black Sheep Deli in Amherst, and it's quite an eclectic place. I mean, if you didn't know he was a progressive, you would when you went in there, because he's had, you know, Black Lives Matter signs in there, and he's got like whose autograph does he have? Oh man, a very famous revolutionary. I can't remember right now. See, I'll think of that after I finish this video. But it's a really neat place. They have open mic poetry sessions. They have a band every, I think, Thursday and Friday. I don't really get over there as much as I want to during the school year, because there's no parking available right there. And Amherst parking is, it's non-existent anyway, which really does a disservice to the businesses there, because there's a lot of businesses I like, but unless you get there, there's like in the middle of the town square, there's a little bit of paid parking, you know, metered parking. But I feel bad for people trying to run a business in Amherst, because there's no parking, and during the school year you can't stir them with a stick. So I much prefer Amherst during winter break and in the summer. But I want to stitch this for him for his business, the Black Sheep Deli. It's so, oh my gosh. With the exception of the portobello mushroom sandwich, I could eat my way through like the whole sandwich menu, and they have the best desserts. And the thing that I really like about their desserts is most of them are gluten-free and vegan and stuff. And I'm an omnivore. I eat anything. I don't have any kind of health concerns where I would have to be gluten-free. You know, so I eat anything. But the thing that I love is the desserts are delicious, and I feel like if they're vegan and gluten-free, that translates, that gets in my head and translates as guilt-free. So I'm good with guilt-free desserts. I mean, they have this freaking custard tart covered with like seasonal berries. Oh my gosh, it's almost as big as your face. I mean, you shouldn't really probably be eating dessert that big, but so the Black Sheep Wool Company, Sophie Sheep, that's going to get stitched for him at some point, because I've been wanting to stitch something. He's got a lot of cute little things with black sheep and all over the place. Very nice, very, very quaint, kind of eccentric college town place, but I think they've been open like almost 40 years by now. So that's pretty much it with my stitchy haul. So if you don't want to see any non-stitchy related stuff, then, or hear any non-stitchy related talk any more than you already have, I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and I apologize for the lighting messing up my showing of the fabric. I will try to do better when I get my picture of this plus stash. Not really sure what happened there, but anyway, so, oh, and yeah, I meant to say, Ort jar, it was it was the wild blackberry. It didn't take, it was ridiculous the short amount of time it took me to actually eat that. But it was the wild blackberry, which was so good. And gelato is just like 10 times smoother than ice cream. It's so good. So, while I've been mostly just accumulating Stitchy haul over the past couple months, I have accumulated a couple of other things. Oh, hold that thought while I get something here. All right, so remember how I told you that a few weeks back Satan needed ice skates because I was agreeing with someone I normally want to just smack senseless? Well, Satan still needs ice skates, and he's about to need more. He's got enough he could field an NHL team, and enough hockey, ice skate wearing demons that he could field an NHL team, because the Friday of the ODU game, October 7th, I was on my way home, and I was fed up with my cell phone. I had dropped it for the umpteenth time. This was my little cell phone to begin with, a little LG, had the flip out keyboard, but I had killed this thing. I had dropped it so many times that it wasn't even giving the correct time anymore. Any of my texts were all out of order. Sometimes it would take me, like if Bill texted me, it would take me an hour to get them. So I was like, okay, I'm fed up with this phone. I'm going to go upgrade. Well, I swore that I would never have a smartphone, but when I went in there and showed them this, they said, well, nobody makes phones like that anymore. This was an old LG. Nobody makes phones like that anymore. And I was like, so you're telling me a smartphone, right? They were like, yeah, smartphones are all that are sold anymore. So Satan's probably 2 or 3 games away from the Stanley Cup, because this is my new baby. It's an LG Phoenix 2. And yes, I have my apps. I have my Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, my email. I never thought this was going to actually be a thing for me, because I swore I would go as long as I could without getting a smartphone, because I didn't want my phone to start running my life. But it doesn't. I mean, I don't take it out when I'm out with Bill. I don't, when I'm with friends, when I'm out at dinner or I'm in a football game. The only reason I used this a little bit today was because I wanted to get a selfie with me and my husband, which I did. And I posted it to my Instagram feed. And I've got a couple of pictures. But I never wanted my phone to run my life. And I have to say, first of all, I haven't dropped this one yet, which is good, because, yeah, as many times as I dropped that old thing, yeah. So, but I just never wanted my phone. I don't want to be one of those people that can't get their face out of their phone. And when, like last year when we were at the beach with Bill's parents, it was Bill's mom and dad, his aunt and uncle, me and Bill, and 6 of us around a table laughing like idiots, having a good time. And then this family of 5 came in who sat behind us, and they were all in their phones. So, with a little bit of respect and decorum, so far I've really liked having a smartphone. And I don't think that I'm going to become one of those people who can't go 5 minutes without checking their email or their Twitter account or whatever. I do like having an Instagram account. That's kind of fun. But yeah, so I think Satan can probably field an NHL level hockey team at this point, because not only did I get this one, but when my husband saw it, he was like, oh, well, I need to upgrade, because he's got a phone that was more jinky than this thing, because he's got an old flip phone. And he was like, well, it might be nice to have a smartphone. I was like, can I put that on a recording and play it back for you? Because I don't think you realize what you just said, right? He's like, no, I think it would be a good idea to have to upgrade. And he said, I won't have all the things on my phone that you do on yours, because I don't have a Facebook account, I don't have a Twitter account. All I would really maybe do is use the internet. And but so yeah, if that's a sign that hell hasn't frozen over, I don't know what is. My husband and I was like, well, I joined the 21st century. The first person I called was my mom, because Bill was at Old Dominion and he was working. So I couldn't have called him, or he would have been the first call that I christened my phone with. But I called my mom and she's like, well, welcome to the 21st century finally. I was like, yeah, well, it took me long enough. But I mean, I'm just not as tied to my phone as, and I hope I can keep it that way. So, I pre-ordered this when it came out, and I don't know how many people out there in Flosstube world are into the coloring phenomenon or whatever, but I am, and I have 3 of the 4 books that this woman has designed. It's Joanna Basford, and she created a Christmas book. And I absolutely, this one will be the first one I color to completion, because, yeah, birds. I don't know, I'm becoming obsessed with birds. We actually had a male blue jay at our feeder the other day for the first time, and the poor thing was getting harassed by the freaking doves. It's like, wait a minute, I thought doves were supposed to be peaceful. What the heck you trying to peck him in the head for? I mean, he was bigger than they were, which, but, yeah, Joanna Basford is a very creative, talented artist. And she's got all these beautiful, like, I love the Christmas tree and I love the fireplace, but I'm definitely doing the one with the birds. Oh, and this one I'll do in blues and purples, just like the snowflake mandala. And I can't help but look at some of these and think, man, these would be really beautiful cross stitches. And I don't know what her thing is with owls, but she's always got an owl in every book she puts out. I've got The Secret Garden, Enchanted Forest, and Lost Ocean. The last one she put out was Magical Jungle, but I saw that, and it didn't really do that much for me because it seemed a little bit kind of too similar to the Magic Garden. Secret Garden. But I thought it would be fun to have, another bird. That one's kind of cool, a bird carrying presents. I thought it'd be fun to have the Christmas version. Oh, and I love this page. See, I love stuff like this where the whole page is covered and it's all Christmas candies and stuff. I don't think I've ever finished actually coloring one of her pieces because they're so intricate that, and then there's a gingerbread house, and I'll do this one for my nephew because he's, the Nutty Parade. He's in the Nutcrackers. I'll do that one for him. And so it's really, and I love this one with the polar bear. It makes me think of the Coca-Cola polar bears. But yeah, so this was kind of a special pre-Christmas gift to myself. I just love Joanna Basford. She's British. I just love her drawings. I mean, her artwork is just beautiful. Of course, when I think of this, I think of Jo and her whole thing about adult coloring books, and it's like, well, that adds a whole new phrase to the meaning adult. But oh, Jo, I love you. You know that, don't you, honey? I just crack up when I think about that because you have such a good point. So that was an early Christmas gift to myself that wasn't Stitchy related. And then the last, okay, you're gonna see a theme here. Well, first of all, I figured I was at Barnes & Noble last night because I was supposed to meet Bill at Ginger Garden, our local Chinese restaurant, at 7:30. But there was this, it was strange. There was this high school or prep school football game that was in our stadium last night. And they told Bill that they wanted him to film it. And I was like, well, you can't do that. It's obviously a recruiting violation. And Bill called the compliance director and she was like, you can absolutely not be there. If you send your student employees, that's one thing. But you, as an employee of UMass, can't be there. So he was going to get everybody set up and get everything going. And then for some reason, I don't know if it was related to our game today, but he couldn't get out the door because people kept interrupting him. So we didn't end up getting to have dinner until 8:45. So I was at Barnes and Noble. I was writing in my journal and all kinds of stuff, and I found some Christmas cards. Now, I leave for BYU on the 17th, and we don't get back from Hawaii till the 27th, and I'm taking the 28th off, so I'm not sure how many Christmas cards I'm actually going to get out this year, but I always try to do Christmas cards for the coaches, and then I have a list of people I send Christmas cards to. But it may just be close family and the coaches this year. I don't know, because I mean, I'm going to be worn out by the time I get back. I'm not even going to know which ends up. But I found these 2 boxes of cards at Barnes and Noble. Gee, you think I like Cardinals? Whatever gave you that idea? Whatever gave you that idea? This is a box of called Cardinal Brothers, and it's a box of 20. And this one is a box of 15. So, and these are actually dimensional cards. I thought these were so pretty, but they've got a dimensional, the little cardinal sticks out of the card. And they're so beautiful, and I love cardinals so much. So, I'm trying to think when, it was Thursday that I went to Joann's because my husband, poor guy, he hadn't had a haircut in almost 2 months. And he is the kind of man that the minute his hair gets too long, he's just like, it drives him crazy. He just cannot take it. And his hair grows, because it curls like around his ears, and he just cannot stand it. So Thursday night, in the middle of the strangest weather we've had all year probably, he wanted me to meet him at the local mall so that he could get a haircut, and then we were going to go to dinner, which we did. The day started out with supposed to rain, but it snowed instead. And then it went from snow to rain to sleet and back to rain. And people here can't drive in good weather, but there were wrecks all over the place, power outages, and by yesterday it was in the 50s again and the snow was gone. Which is one of the unique things about living in New England, I guess. If you don't like the weather, wait 5 minutes. So, I went to Joann's to get a couple of threads that I needed for Leilani, because I thought I had kitted her up in her entirety, but I hadn't. So I went and got the threads that were missing out of my DMC floss that I have here. And total impulse buy, but it is beautiful when you turn the light out and light this up. This Christmas lamp with a male and female cardinal on it. And on the inside, it has white Christmas lights. I'm pretty sure you can't see that in there, but yeah, maybe you can. But it's got like Christmas tree lights, white Christmas tree lights. And of course, like I said, cardinals, you know me and cardinals. God bless them. They're my favorite birds. So, yeah. So I had that on the other night, and it's funny because with the kitchen is right there, and the bedroom is right. Our bedroom is on the other side of the wall from this camera, and Bill was like, "That thing's really bright." I was like, "Yeah, it kind of is." It's like, "Well, that'll be good when I get up in the middle of the night to get something to drink, but can we shut the door?" But yeah, that was a total impulse buy. They were on sale for half off. I think it was like $60, but they were on sale for 30. And I was just like, oh, it's cardinals. I've got to. So that's been the sum total of my spending lately. I don't really need anything stitchy oriented right now. There is a new Canon 300 milliliter. Yeah, that'd be interesting. 300 millimeter telephoto camera lens that I want. And I'm thinking of just asking my parents, because they're always asking me what I want for Christmas. And it's like, well, I don't have any needs or anything really. I think I'm just going to say, would you mind helping me finance this camera lens? Because that's the only thing I can think of that I really want. And it's $500, which is expensive. But as far as lenses go, oh, that's the tip of the iceberg. That's cheap for a lens, especially a telephoto lens. I have a 250 millimeter one, but it's old and it's not as fast because my camera is a 2014. So I've got the 7D Mark II, which came out at the end of 2014, and I bought it in early 2015. But the lens I've got is like 8 years old, and I just want to upgrade to the new lens because the only other major lens I have is a 500 millimeter Sigma Super Telephoto that I use at games and stuff, but so I'm thinking of just asking my parents if they could help me with that. Because I'll take the 250 with me on the trip to Hawaii, but and then I'll have my regular 55 millimeter normal lens, it's called. So, I mean, I don't really need any stitchy stuff right now. And I think I can just, I don't think I'm going to spend anything more on stitchy stuff after I do my Picture This Plus payment. Well, probably well into next year because I've got everything I need now. So that's I feel like that's a good place to be in. You've got everything you need. You've got all your kitted up materials that you're ready to work on. You've got your projects put together. So that's kind of a good feeling that I'm just ready to go and do these things. So starting January 1st, I'm going to be doing a stitch along with Dawn Chadbourne and Susan Russell, the Cardinal cross stitch, the Winter Cardinals, and I like the feeling that I've got a plan. I need to really sit down and kind of try to figure out, okay, I want to give this cross stitch to this person at this time, so I need to start it here, but because I want to be more organized in my stitching in the new year and have more specific plans and see those through to fruition. Like right now, I know the rooster. I'm going to have to start that in February or March to get it done by the end of July because I'll have to have it done into the framer because the 3-county fair is Labor Day weekend. So I'm trying to get more organized where I've got everything I need. I don't have to go spend money on stash. I can just go into my stash and say, okay, maybe I need to pick up a few threads, but that's it. Like the leg lamp Christmas Story Clouds Factory that I want to do for my dad. Then I want to finish Nutty Parade, and I've got the one for my niece. And then I'm going to give the rooster to my parents after I enter it in the fair. So I mean, I'm trying to have a plan because I'm usually kind of more fly by the seat of my pants. I don't consider it disorganized. I just consider it, like I want to be spontaneous with things. I don't want to just be so regimented that I have this particular, okay, this gets done here, this gets done here. But I think I need to be more that way so that I can get more things finished. I don't know if I'm even making sense. I feel like I'm just rambling right now. But in any event, I think that I'm, trying to work out a plan for 2017. And I feel like I'm in a good place to be able to do that right now. So we'll see. We'll see about 2017. And if I do come up with a plan, we'll see how long it takes me to not stick to it. Because that's the other thing. Even if I have a plan, I don't necessarily stick to it. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. It's going on 54 minutes long of a video here. So, yeah, I just wanted to let you know that I am still here. I am still stitching now that I'm well enough not to hack up along every 5 seconds. And now that I actually feel like my stitchy mojo has come back. Hopefully, I don't know if I will have an update between now and the Hawaii trip, but I definitely will have, at least in the 1st of December, some updates. So hopefully it won't be a full month because I've still got, let's see, next week and then the week after. Well, it's actually coming up faster than I realized. So if I don't get a video done before I leave for the trip, then I definitely will do one within a week or two of getting back. So I just really appreciate all your support. I appreciate all my subscribers. You don't have to sit here and listen to me ramble on about all this stuff. And I really appreciate that you do. If you've made it this far, thank you so much. And even if you didn't, that's fine too. So until next time, whenever that is, I wish you a happy stitching and a happy life, and I will see you soon. Bye.